The Virgin Voyages loyalty program, things have changed in 2026. So in today's podcast episode, we are breaking down for you a few things. One, what does the current loyalty program look like? What are those three tiers? Because there are some things people get really confused by. And also, what's the big change that happened, which is status match? All of that coming up.
Ahoy, I'm Christine Lozada.
And I'm JC, top Virgin Voyages travel agent. Welcome to the podcast.
This is the Virgin Voyages Tips Podcast, an insider guide to navigating Virgin Voyages like a pro. Find it on every podcasting platform, on YouTube, and check the show notes for additional helpful info.
And how I can get you a great deal.
Let's dive in.
All right, the sailing club, JC. I know that you finally got your status. Which tier are you at right now?
Happy to say I have finally, after 3 years, hit Deep Blue Extras.
But this is actually going to be important, and we're going to walk you through some of the nuances because it took you quite some time to earn your status. Because there are ways that you can earn, and there are some sailing types where you do not earn status. So we will talk you through that. But let's first break it down for everyone with the three different types of tiers that Virgin Voyages has, and I'm going to break it down for you for the first two. So the first one, which is, I would say it would be like a high five or a pat on the back, which is basically sailing club. So if you've never sailed before, then after you sail one time, then you have one sailing under your belt, you get a pat on the back, and you now have status as sailing club. So the next tier that actually matters is Blue Extras. And so you need to have sailed twice. This is where it confuses people. Do I get it on my second sailing? No, you have to complete 2 sailings. So these perks apply on your third and on your fourth sailings. This is when you are going to have Blue Extras. And this is a per person and sometimes a per cabin. So I'm going to break that down for you. Let's talk about it. The Blue Extra perks are 1 specialty coffee per day. So for the person, like let's pretend I'm sailing with JC. So JC, we've never been in a cabin together, but let's pretend, all right? Let's pretend we're in a cabin together. Let's pretend I've Blue Extras and you have your pat on the back because you're part of the sailing club.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
I have Blue Extras, and when we have 1 specialty coffee per day, that specialty coffee is going to me, not to you, and it's on my band. So my band will help me to get that 1 specialty coffee, what's your favorite specialty coffee?
It would be a mocha with oat milk.
Disgusting. I am not a fan of oat milk even a tiny bit. But this is where you're going for, right? Free coffees around the ship, at the galley, at the restaurants. But when you're going to Grounds Club 2, getting that premium coffee, that's your specialty coffee for the day. That's for the person who has it. 1 bag of complimentary laundry. So let's pretend in the instance that we're both in the same room together. I have Blue Extras. I get 1 complimentary laundry. So therefore I can have a bag of laundry done. You cannot, but you can obviously, I wouldn't want to mix my clothes with yours. Maybe I would.
Yeah.
But let's pretend you also have Blue Extras. That means we would get 2 bags of laundry during that sailing, right? It's a per person thing. The next one, and this is where it gets confusing, is an invitation to an exclusive cocktail event. This confuses a lot of people because if your sailing is 4 nights, we know that that exclusive sailing event's not going to happen on the first night. It generally doesn't happen on the last one, but it'll happen somewhere on like nights 2 and 3. But you'll say you're on a 16-night transatlantic. That could happen somewhere in the sailing. You don't know until you are on board and you get a piece of paper in your room inviting you to it. But that piece of paper is inviting the cabin. So if JC and I were in the same room together and I had Blue Extras, and in this instance you have the pat on the back because you're just sailing club, technically, if I wanted to, I could invite you to come to that party with me and we could go enjoy the cocktail event together. So that's one example. The last one is dedicated sailor services support. So that's when you're in the app, having someone answering your questions for you, that's available for you for Blue Extras. So a quick recap, Blue Extras, that is earned. You've completed 2 sailings. On your third sailing and on your fourth sailing, you're experiencing the perks of 1 specialty coffee per day, 1 bag of laundry during your sailing, the invitation to the cocktail event, and dedicated sailor services support. So that's after these 2. We're about to break down for you what happens on your 5th sailing, which is Deep Blue Extras. But first,
Ahoy, sailors. Quick announcement from Christine popping in to remind you that the show notes or the description of this podcast has a ton of helpful info that most sailors miss. And one thing that's in there is a killer deal. There is a reason why other travel agents book with us. And even if you've already booked your sailing, it takes just 2 steps and 10 seconds to get a price comparison with us. So check the description and let's get back to the episode.
Deep Blue Extras. Sailing number 5. Tell us what happens.
All right, Deep Blue. So the big perk, in my opinion, is going to be the $100 bar tab. That's huge.
It is a huge one.
Yeah, because not many other cruise lines with their top tier loyalty will give you that bar tab. And it only takes 5 sailings, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So the next biggest perk of Deep Blue is going to be priority boarding. So that's huge. A lot of people want to get on early. This is the way to do it, other than Splash of Romance or Rockstar.
Yeah, and it is important to note that priority boarding is at 1:45 p.m. So in other words, mega rock stars go on first, and then basically around the same time as rock stars, that's when Splash of Romance and the Deep Blue Extras are all priority boarding thereafter.
Yeah, correct. The next thing is going to be you get 2 specialty coffees per day versus 1, so that's big.
More oat milk.
Yeah, more oat milk. And then you get your bag of laundry as well on this one. There's some other laundry perks in there, 2 pressed items, and then 1 specialty cleaning item.
Yeah, that's right.
Is included in there. And then of course the sailor services in the app.
Yeah. And one thing that's important to know, because this actually confuses a lot of people, I don't know if you've noticed when they switched it, but in the past, Virgin Voyages, you could just throw all your laundry in the bag and give it to them. Yeah. And then you would have to write down, this is the special pressed one, or this is the specialty cleaning. But now you have to itemize everything. So you have to count every single sock, right? I have 16 socks in the bag, and you have to write it down. So I think that happened over time because I think some sailors may have got laundry lost or something, but just know that you have to itemize it. But Deep Blue Extra perks, the big ones there, right? That's happening on your 5th sailing. So you've completed 4 sailings, 5, 6, 7, and beyond. All of those, you will have these additional perks, with the main ones being the $100 in bar tab and the priority boarding and the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is the 3rd key one.
Yeah, that is big.
Free Wi-Fi, classic Wi-Fi is always free for all sailors. But with Deep Blue Extras, you're getting that premium Wi-Fi for yourself, for 1 device. So actually that's really important. It's not for the cabin for everybody. It's 1 device. And if you are not aware of this, in 2026, there are 3 levels of Wi-Fi. That classic free Wi-Fi, then you have the premium, then you have the work from sea, which is the highest level of Wi-Fi. So that's what Deep Blue Extras looks like.
Yeah, and if you're Deep Blue and your other person in your room's Deep Blue, then that's 2 Wi-Fi devices.
Exactly. Yeah, that's helpful to know. And you can always add more. You can always add more devices. You're just paying additional for those devices. If you had $100 in bar tab right now, what would you get?
Get a gin and tonic.
I was like, with oat milk in it?
Yeah, it's not oat milk.
I mean, that's 4 moets right there if you are at sea and not at port, because otherwise there's taxes. All right. Let's break down this next important part, which is status match. This is the big change that happened in 2026. So tell us, what was status match before?
So the old status match was, there was a small list of cruise lines that you could status match with, and you had to be a certain level, and you would get status match on your sailings from sailing 1, sailing 2, and then obviously on sailing 3, you would obviously get blue extras. So when you status matched before, you would get blue extras. Today, it's much different. You have to apply for it like you did before, and then you get an access key. And then you can book your sailing but it's only going to apply to that sailing ever. So you don't carry the status on to sailing 2.
Yeah.
So that's big. That's a big change. But they also expanded the list. So like on Carnival, for example, it used to be just platinums or diamonds, but now it's like gold, platinum, and diamond.
I think that's an interesting way of doing it because it's kind of confusing that you only get it once, yet at the same time, does anyone else offer that kind of status on other cruise lines to be able to match it in that way?
Yeah, not many at all, honestly, that do the match. I want to say MSC might, but other than that, no.
Well, if anyone has watched any of my videos about MSC, you'll understand how I absolutely feel about that. And if you're only listening to today's podcast episode, I have a gross look on my face and a big thumbs down for MSC. That's how I feel about that, very honestly. All right, so status match has changed. And when you apply for it, that's a link on the Virgin Voyages website. I'm going to add that in the show notes to this podcast episode, so make sure you check that out. What's confusing people the most about status match today?
I would say that it continuing on to sailing because they're so used to it and they're seeing so many people that have had it over the years, right? I mean, it's been years since they've had this old program.
Yeah.
But this program, this they call it enhanced status match, is ending at the end of March. So what's going to happen at the end of March? I don't know.
So stay tuned for the next podcast episode. But one thing that I wouldn't be surprised by, I think about how many friends I have that do mileage runs on airlines to keep their status.
Yeah.
I feel like at some point there's going to be fire and sunset soiree runs on Virgin Voyages for people to get there. Honestly, Deep Blue Extras, the perks are fantastic.
Yeah. I have people that do it.
Yeah.
They have done that. They're like, well, we're going on this long one. I'm going to go ahead and hit some short ones to get the Deep Blue.
It's true. And actually, there is one more aspect to, I'm just going to say loyalty program loosely here, which is Virgin has also recently changed just this idea of the Virgin Red Points, where they are bringing together airline, cruise, hotel, and you are under this umbrella able to, through all these 3, earn Virgin Red Points toward all of these different kinds of vacations. I'm anticipating changes there as well because, I have only, I'm joking here if you're only listening, but I've only sailed over 30 times on Virgin. I still have not earned, with all of my red points, I still have not earned a cruise.
Oh, wow.
I will have to literally sail like 30 more times to get just a 4-night sailing, which is kind of crazy. That's like
that is crazy.
A bajillion nights on the ship. But I anticipate a lot of these things changing. But those points are working well for me on the airline and hotel because I do love that experience as well. But I do think there are some interesting nuances, right, that we talked about at the beginning, which is it took you some time to earn your status.
Yeah.
And give us an example of one of those nuances.
Any casino rates do not qualify towards the program. Casino and Interline is another one.
Yeah, Interline. And a lot of people always ask about Interline. They're like, what is it?
Yeah.
So Interline is like when you work for an airline or you're basically in the biz and you get a discount on it.
Correct.
So Interline is another one. Comped cruises is another one.
Heavily reduced cruises do not count as well.
Yeah. So like those are more the nuances, and like most people probably don't fall into that category, but the casino one is an important one because a lot of people like to play casino. And that's just a whole other beast. All right. Loyalty program in 2026 with the updated status match. Now you know. This has been another episode of Virgin Voyages Tips Podcast. If it was helpful, please share it with somebody. And we want you to book your sailing with us. We'd love to help you set sail because we're here for you every step of the way. A reminder to check the show notes. Things on Virgin Voyages changes all the time, and you'll find more helpful links and resources in the description. We'll see you in the next episode.